This is a massive warning and it's much bigger than you think. I want to give you a different perspective on the Venezuela thing. And I want you to understand economic and historical cycles because when we're in the moment, we forget to look long term and how familiar, how repetitive the cycles are. And the fact is, the 1% always remain the 1%. Remember this. I didn't say it, JP Morgan said it. Billionaires use astrology and millionaires use charts. Now, why would he say billionaires use astrology and millionaires use charts? Because charts are emotional. Millionaires get wrecked. Billionaires use cycles because it's nothing new under the sun. I'm going to give you a different perspective now. It's just my opinion, my research, do your own. But I'm always going to share with you exactly what I'm doing, the why behind it, and how I'm positioning my family to prepare for one of the biggest economic shifts that we've ever. This will not happen in our kids' time or our grandkids' time. The only thing that's different, how massive the shift is into a new economy, how you can position yourself to take advantage of it. But the fact is, most people be caught in the day-to-day emotion of the news and the hype. Okay, the factors around Venezuela. I'm going to take you back to 2003. It's the same thing every time. In 2003, when Saddam Hussein was captured, the markets rallied temporarily. Oil stabilized temporarily, and the US projected global dominance. America put a clear message, we're in power. America controlled the energy, and America controls the system. So markets responded with confidence. So what happened next was massive war spending, exploding national debt, accelerated printing of money, and long-term currency debasement. So we had short-term strength and long-term debasement. So what are the modern day parallels to Venezuela, but also the differentiator, which is Bitcoin and cryptocurrency? Let's apply it to what happened in Venezuela. We got Venezuela oil. Supposedly, I haven't been able to verify it yet. They owned a ton of Bitcoin. If we seize that, it will take us to just under Strategy B, Satoshi and BlackRock holders in Bitcoin. Regional power, reduced uncertainty, strength in U.S. leverage, short-term bullish conditions. The markets responded very favorable to this. Markets love confidence, even if it's artificial. This is really important. It's all psychology, guys. Why this is bullish short-term. Power creates confidence. Confidence drives risk assets. Liquidity flows, and prices rise. This is not fundamentals, guys. This is psychology. Billionaires use astrology, millionaires use charts. So what is Bitcoin's role in this? I showed a video on my YouTube channel, 3T Warrior Academy, where Venezuela's opposition leader said the Venezuelans were using Bitcoin as sovereignty outside of their government. Remember, Bitcoin is peer-to-peer. Stablecoins are peer-to-peer. Wait a minute. Trump came back and ran as the Bitcoin president, the crypto capital of the world, created the Stablecoin Act. He now is the fastest growing stablecoin, USD1, through World Liberty Financial, which the Trump boys run and the Witkoff boys run. So they have World Liberty Financial, USD1, their own stablecoin. We brought Tether into America, and now America dominates the stablecoin market, the Bitcoin market, and now oil, and heading to gold. So we got gold, oil, stablecoins, and Bitcoin. But the interesting part about all of that, let's take gold, Bitcoin, and stablecoin. They all have to do with if you're worried about your country's debasement of their currency. Larry Fink said, if you're worried about your country debasing your currency, Bitcoin might be a good option. So they are quietly, not quietly anymore, loudly positioning themselves in the new gold, Bitcoin, in the new infrastructure, cryptocurrency. I don't care if you invest in crypto. I have my own zone of competency. That's my zone of competency. But I do care that you understand that cash is trash. And what's about to happen is Trump taking over oil now, taking over Bitcoin now. Witkoff family wanting to tokenize everything. Larry Fink took over Bitcoin. The largest asset manager in the world, the president of the United States, his family are deep in cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, and they cornered the stablecoin market. They now have the perception of dominance. Oh, we're heading into midterms. I told you guys the markets are going to go bullish in 2026 is before we go into midterms. Remember, all markets are temporary. So you need to prepare yourself looking forward to what happens when they print a ton of money in a low interest rate environment and debase your currency, your fiat. You can now clearly see that countries, billionaires, multimillionaires are preparing themselves for the debasement of the global fiat system because there's a new system and rail being built, which is distributed ledger technology, asset-backed currencies, gold is a new digital gold, money moving at the speed of light. What is going to happen by 2029, the next president is going to run on hyperinflation. Americans can't buy a home, it's way too expensive. The debasement of our currency, middle class can't afford to live, and the wealthy became extremely wealthy. So they're gonna run on wealth gap, inequality in the middle class moving down to the working poor, and by 2030, you're gonna own nothing and be happy. I didn't create the system, I just understand the cycles of it. It's nothing new under the sun. Middle class is somewhat of a new concept after World War II. World War II, our grandparents came out of the Great Depression, guys. They were scared. Were savers. They wanted certainty. So they gave up their certainty. They gave up their sovereignty for pensions, bullshit 401ks in the future. I think that was in the 70s. But pensions, trading time for money, government support, subsidized mortgages. Don't worry, you'll be safe. We'll pay you in someone else's debt. You put your debt into the bank. We'll lend you that money to buy a home. It worked for a while. You could live off one income. My parents bought their house in 1973. They bought it for $23,000, I think $25,000. That house is now worth $400,000, the exact same house. That is not growth. That is the devaluation of your currency. And I don't think people understand. This is not our grandparents' economy anymore, our parents' economy anymore. You cannot operate in the old financial system. You cannot invest the same as our grandparents and parents did. It does not work anymore. Savers are losers. That is why they're moving into Bitcoin. That is why gold is at an all-time high. That's why silver's at an all-time high. You have to wake up and study historical cycles. The 1% will always remain the 1%. We don't need stimulus checks. We need financial literacy. We need to understand how inflation works, how printing of money works, how the middle class is going to appear to become wealthy over the next 2 to 3 years, because everybody's just going to monetize more debt, buy bigger houses, bigger cars, nicer watches, because they can refinance debt. That is not economic growth. That is economic slavery. So C, you need cash flow. I invented Capital DR. It is not an investment. It is a system that beats economic cycles. C, you need cash flow. Cash is trash. You need to create cash flow, whether it's through active income, through businesses, through dividend stocks. When you get income, you need to transmute it into assets. I don't care what you invest in. I invest in assets that have fixed supply that I believe over time are going to beat inflation. I like XRP, Bitcoin, Solana, WFI, HBAR, VeChain. Those are just a few on the stock side, ABTC, XXI. When my assets appreciate, I pull profits. I get money off the table and I put it into P, protection. I use cash value life insurance, one of the greatest ways to protect your principal, a permanent life insurance, and create a family bank. Reason why insurance gets a bad rap is they're not funded properly and agents don't structure them properly. They're selling them as magic retirement policies. They're not retirement policies, not to be sold as retirement policy. They're cash value life insurance because of tax code 77028. You can use it to leverage against your cash value, tax-free, very low interest, to go buy more cash flow and assets. That's how richest man in Babylon works. Then L is leverage, which I just explained. And don't believe these influencers telling you to leverage your crypto. Remember 10, 10, 20, 25, you're gonna get wrecked. Do not leverage your crypto, it's too volatile. I leverage on the insurance side. There was an example I gave with my Bitcoin leverage. Remember, I did 25% leverage. They gave me 70% LTV of 25, no liquidation risk, but I bought a business that paid it off in 6 months. That's an example of using leverage. If you don't have the money to pay it off, do not leverage crypto. Take sovereignty of your money. And DR is de-risk, de-risk, de-risk. Because guess what? When it gets bullish, you forget about the bear market. There will be another bear market. There will be another stock market collapse. It just moves from the undisciplined to the disciplined. When the undisciplined get wrecked, we come back in and buy the fear. That's how it works, guys. I didn't create the system. I just understand it. Buckle up, lock in. It's about to get wild. Warriors, rise. Get your shit together. God bless you.